based in South Africa. We have an office in Pretoria and office here in Bryanston, Johannesburg. We specialize in disinfection and decontamination services, equipment, training, and this is one of our training sessions whereby we're going to give you more knowledge about the services and the product that we provide. The training will do a lot of focus on decontamination with regard to the fight against COVID-19. You guys have been working on the equipment that we have been providing, and you requested to have this additional training to further your knowledge and your system on the way that you apply and provide the services that we are here for as part of our contribution to fight the current pandemic. So we welcome you, and I will leave you in the capable hand of Bravesh, who's from our head office, Optimal Solution. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? My name is Bryanston. I'm from Optimal Fog Solutions. We're explaining decontamination, disinfecting, cleaning, and fogging solutions today, and give you a lot more knowledge about the virus and the pandemic that is facing the entire world currently. Alright, let's start just by basics. So the first thing we all got to understand is that disinfection does not replace cleaning. It's the first rule. A lot of people are under the assumption that if you disinfect, you don't need to clean. That is false. We are adding a separate function. You always were used to cleaning. Now we're adding a different, an added function called disinfection. It is two very different things. Cleaning is taking away dust, dirt, keeping areas generally clean and tidy. Disinfection is to get rid of any bacteria, germs, pathogens, and possible viruses. That is the difference. So we have to first understand it. And there are various chemicals that you can use to do such things. Up until now in South Africa and the whole world as such, everybody has been concentrating on personal protection. So governments and authorities are saying use hand sanitizers to sanitize your hand, wash your hands with soap, masks to prevent the spread of saliva, goggles to some degree, gloves, just to prevent people from spreading the virus. That is all for personal protection. But how do you disinfect and make areas safe, work areas safe, homes safe, and decontaminate homes and workspaces? Various methods. One very, very important method is deep cleaning. What is deep cleaning? Deep cleaning is physically using mechanical action and special soaps and chemicals to disinfect areas. Right, so what we prefer to use is a QC. It's a quaternary ammonium chloride. So you'll start when you start cleaning, you'll use this this product 1:70 ratio, 1 liter of concentrate to 70 liters of ordinary tap water, fresh tap water, not distilled water, not filtered water, nothing, just ordinary tap water. Now, in order to clean and to get rid of germs, you need to have mechanical action. When we talk about mechanical action, we talk about wiping, scrubbing, cleaning windows, physical action. That is mechanical action. So what you'll do is you'll mix the chemical 1:70, like I said, put it into buckets, and then physically wipe everything down. That's how you start deep cleaning. When it comes to bedding, curtains, they have to be removed and sent away for either dry cleaning or to a laundry service and cleaning. That's how you decontaminate and disinfect the materials. But basically everything else, you'll wipe down 1:70, no rinse formula, so you don't need to take fresh water in and rinse after. With the same liquid QAC, and then you'll use the same liquid again to just fog the area. That is one layer of protection. That's just preventative maintenance, so that you don't have, you constantly keep the viral load in that specific area low. Alright. Then if you have an infection, strictly speaking, you need to use hydrogen peroxide. But I must explain to you that hydrogen peroxide is very corrosive. It's extremely damaging. It can damage materials, curtains, but it is the chemical of choice if you have an infection. You don't need to. There are other options. We can use hypochlorous acid. Let me explain hypochlorous acid to you. Hypochlorous acid is an enzyme that your immune system produces naturally in your body to fight bacteria, viruses, germs that might be present, right? We have a product that's a synthetic version of that you can use. But hypochlorous acid is only a disinfectant. It has no cleaning properties. Where quaternary ammonium chlorides or compounds have soaps in its surfactants. It has a molecule of basically surfactants built into it. So you can use it to clean. Like ordinary household soaps, it has that built into the chemical. So it's a cleaner and a disinfectant all in one, which is why we use it for deep cleaning. So, if you were to start off deep cleaning, you'll start here with QAC, wipe all the areas down. It will take long, but deep cleaning is not meant to be very fast. You have to do it. It is a bit time consuming, but it is a necessary process. You understand what I'm saying here, right? And after deep cleaning, you add layers of protection of disinfectants with fogging. It is the fastest, easiest, and most economical way of adding layers is fogging, which our company provides the machine, the equipment, all the chemicals, and there's various disinfectants. You can either use QAC as one layer, you can use hypochlorous as the next layer, hydrogen peroxide as the next layer. Our recommendation is QAC, deep cleaning QAC, first layer of protection, and then hypochlorous acid for your third layer, just to create viral resistance. The virus, let me give you a little bit of knowledge about the virus and the pandemic that's facing us. The coronavirus it's such a small, the particle size is so small, it's actually 200 times smaller than 1 micron. 1 micron is 0.1 of 1 millimeter, which is why we can't see it with our eye. You get to remember, you need to see underneath a microscope or something. We will never be able to see it. But it's covered in a protein layer, a lipid layer. The only way to get through that lipid layer is by mechanical action or by fogging with one of our disinfectants. And by that I mean that when we fog, the disinfectant must land on the particle itself, and then it must have some dwell time to penetrate the outer shell. The only way you can get through that shell fast is by mechanical action. That's why when we deep clean, we have a rubbing action to get through to those particles immediately. So the area is decontaminated immediately when you do deep cleaning. And any mechanical action will render any virus, bacteria, or germs inactive immediately because there is mechanical action. Right? That is why alcohol sanitizes. You have to put it into your hand and then rub it vigorously. But it's very momentary. Alcohol only works now, and the minute it gets dry, it's basically inactive. Whereas disinfectants have a lasting effect, especially QACs, hypochlorous acid. It gives you protection up to 4 hours, whereas alcohol doesn't provide you with that. Alcohol, once it gets dry, it's over. That's it. That's why you have to do it multiple times. You have to sanitize multiple times. Is there anything you don't understand about deep cleaning or disinfectants? Any questions that I can review or go through again? So it's very important that you understand that deep cleaning is a very important process. You will start always with deep cleaning. Unfortunately, it's not something that's repeatable for most companies. They'll do it once off and then they'll just do preventative maintenance. They'll just wipe certain key areas. But in the beginning, if they haven't done any decontamination or disinfection or cleaning, you'll have to start with deep cleaning. It is an expensive process. It's very labor intensive. But like I said, they generally only do it once off. All right. and you use a QAC. Like there are other different types of QACs, but the preferred one is this. And this is SAF disinfectant. SAF disinfectant, right? And the disinfectant liquid of choice is hypochlorous acid. So this one is a soap and a disinfectant in one, whereas the hypochlorous acid is only a disinfectant. It's medical grade, it's approved by the aviation authorities. Our company in particular has one of the strongest concentrations of hypochlorous acid in the market at 500 parts per million. Generally, in the market, companies only produce a product that's only 170 parts per million. Ours is commercially available at 500 parts per million, so it's quite strong. Right? All our chemicals, all the disinfectants are completely safe, non-toxic, non-hazardous, can be inhaled, ingested in low concentrations. The QAC in very low concentrations. So by that I mean that in its concentrate form, in the super concentrated form, it is hazardous because it's very, very concentrated. But once you dilute it at the ratio we give you, 1 to 70, then it's quite safe. Then you can ingest it, absolutely no problem. You can inhale it. That's why when we fog with our machines, you need like just an FFP1 mask. You don't need like a KN95 or N95 mask because it's non-hazardous, non-toxic, non-allergenic. So in high concentrations. So when I say high concentrations, if you like drench yourself in it, then it might cause some irritation, this product. But hypochlorous acid is food grade. This is food contact safe. Hypochlorous acid is food grade. The difference between food contact safe means that once this product gets onto, if for example there was a bowl of fruit and vegetables here, and it was coated via fogging with this chemical, all that would happen, all that you would need to do is just rinse it before you eat it. Hypochlorous acid is food grade, very big difference. If the same bowl of fruit and veg was here and we coated it via fogging with hypochlorous acid, it can be ingested just as is without rinsing. No rinse formula. That's food grade. It's also medical grade, so they use it in hospitals and clinics for disinfection. Hospitals and clinics have been doing disinfection for decades. It's very new for the general public because all we know is cleaning. We don't know about disinfection. Whereas hospitals know, they've been doing it forever and a day. The disinfection process is also very, very, very important going forward because we want to make sure that the viral load in all workspaces and environments is low. The lower we keep it, the less chance of the virus spreading. That's why we need to do viral load management. All right. Let me put this down and then move on to, this is our commercial fogging machine of choice. It's the OptiFog Pro. It is a fully commercial machine that our company sells. It's fully supported, sales, service, spares, training, all that is provided by our company locally and on site. We got a small video. Do we go through? So maybe we go through the video on YouTube, or do we? I think we'll watch the YouTube video, and then we can go through it again.
Today we're going to run through a quick setup guide to set up your OptiFog Pro machine. Let's start with the shoulder strap. There's a buckle on each end. Take one end of the buckle, insert it through the hole provided at the back end of the machine. Take the other end of the buckle, insert it through the front end of the machine. If has a buckle to adjust for comfort and length. There you have it. Okay, let's fill the reservoir. Unscrew the reservoir cap. I'm going to use a funnel because it makes for fast filling times. Here we have some disinfectant solution in ready to use form. It's 5 liters because that's the capacity of your OptiFog Pro machine. Never exceed the 5 liter mark. There you go. Exactly 5 liters. And replace the reservoir cap. The machine is also marked with liter markings, so up to 5 liters, and this is where the 5 liter line is. Let's plug the machine in. Switch it on. There you go. We're all set to go. Okay, so let's set the atomization. I'm going to hook the lines to make this a bit easier. Okay. So, the atomization dial is in the completely open position now. The machine is clearly marked in which direction it will open and close. So we are going to close, so we turn in a clockwise direction until the atomizer dial cannot rotate anymore. There we have it. It does not rotate anymore. For the purpose of this demonstration, I have marked my atomizer dial with a black mark to know where the start and stop position is. Now we're going to open it. You rotate the atomizer dial in the anti-clockwise direction 360 degrees. That is why I marked it with a black marker. That's 360 degrees. That is 20 micron. Each time you rotate the dial 360 degrees, it will add 20 microns to the fog. Let's add another 20. And there you have it. That's 40 microns. And that's perfect. So all we do is we rotate the locking ring all the way to the bottom and lock that setting in. And you're ready to fog.
That's just a short overview of the OptiFog Pro, right? But I'll go into greater detail now about different applications. So the first thing you have to realize is, why is fogging better? Why would you want to fog? Because it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's very effective. It gets everywhere. These are electrostatic machines. So what it does is it adds a negative charge to the fog that's coming out. So it basically charges it with an electric energy that makes it static. Now anything that's static will stick, it will encapsulate anything and stick onto it. You cannot do this better than a fogging machine by hand. It will take you too long. So let's give an example. If we had to continuously, every single day, disinfect this room by hand, we'd have to physically wipe everything down by hand. It will take you 20-30 minutes to do each room. By fogging it, this room will take you about 2 or 3 minutes. It's significantly faster, but only after your deep cleaning process, which you do initially. And then every day it's just simple vacuuming all the surfaces, just wipe off all the dust, the main touch areas, contact points, door handles, and then you just fog the general area, the rest of the general area with one of the Pro machines. Various chemicals can be used in various sectors. So schools, warehouses, even homes, you can just use QACs to fog. You don't need to use a medical grade disinfectant. you can just use a QAC. Only if you have a medical facility like a doctor's rooms, skin contact areas like beauty salons where they're doing laser and facials and we're working with people's skin, then you would move over to hypochlorous acid. Doctors and hospitals will ask you for hypochlorous acid by name. They won't use QACs. They don't want a cleaner and a disinfectant in one because they are already clean. They just want a disinfectant. So they'll ask you only. You won't be able to offer them QAC. They won't want it. And it's not safe in hospitals. Right? They want a hypochlorous acid because its primary function is just disinfection. That's what they'll ask for, right? Factories, schools, even shops, general like clothing stores, electronic shops, everything you'll just use a QAC, a general QAC, which is this one here, the SAF disinfectant. You won't need anything else. On the video they talked about atomization, so I'll be with you now. They talked about atomization. It's basically to set the droplet size. So fogging machines create very, very tiny water droplets. From 0 to 70 micron, we're going to be fogging because it's very tiny. The minute you pass 70 microns, the droplet size becomes very big. And then you move over onto misting. And then you start wetting everything. Now, we don't want to create damage by wetting any areas. You get what I say? We just want to coat it with a very fine layer, so if there's any germs, bacteria, viruses, pathogens, it just gets coated very finely and is basically rendered inactive after 15 minutes. So after you fog, let's say just this room or any environment, the product needs 15 minutes dwell time. Whether you use QAC or whether you use hypochlorous acid, you need to leave that area for 15 minutes. Nobody can be in that area. So that the chemical or any disinfectant has time to act on any viruses, bacteria, or pathogens.
Did you say 15?
15 minutes, 1-5.
1-5.
1-5.
And what do you prefer on the mortuary?
On a?
Mortuary.
You can use QAC. You don't need to use hypochlorous acid. Only in a medical environment or skin contact area. So let me give you the difference. So in a beauty salon where they work with women's skin and facials, you can use hypochlorous acid. But in a nail bar, you can just use QAC. You don't need to use hypochlorous acid. Same goes with the hair salon. You can just use an ordinary QAC because they're just cutting it. They're not like exposing the skin, like in beauty salons. What they do is they cleanse your face first to open the pores and stuff. So you just want to use a very safe disinfectant. QAC might cause a little bit of irritation, especially more so because your skin, they're exposing the skin pores by cleansing and stuff. So in a mortuary, no problem. You can just use a normal QAC; it will be fine. Even in churches, we wouldn't even recommend hypochlorous acid. So you can just use a QAC. But food contact areas like takeaways, kitchens, anywhere where they prepare food, you'll have to use hypochlorous acid. And you spray all the vegetables with it with a fogging machine. It actually extends the life of the fruit and vegetables because it kills all the bacteria around it in there. The QAC, basically, in any general disinfection process, especially in factories and warehouses, outside areas, canteens, where people sit, you can just use normal QAC. You don't need to use hypochlorous acid. You basically need an FFP1 mask, FFP1, which is an ordinary dust mask, goggles, and basically latex gloves or nitrile gloves. That's it. That's minimum PPE. When you move over to an infected environment, it's there where you would need either a disposable coverall, which we recommend. We do not recommend what you call washable ones. And then also one of those medical gowns and respiratory masks in an infected environment, like the blue one there. The respiratory masks, those gowns are also disposable. I don't think you get, as far as I know, you don't get any washable gowns. So you need to just buy it. But our recommendation is disposable. It's the best way for isolation.
You comment, sir?
Disposable.
Okay.
Disposable, it means single use.
So you recommend that to
Yeah. You can use the coverall, or the blue one there is a medical gown. That's only when you have a COVID positive case. And you go in full PPE. A respiratory mask, goggles. You can even get a full face respiratory mask. That means it covers your entire face with the two respirators on the shield, right?
And the shoes.
Sorry?
And the shoes.
Shoes, you just use those shoe covers. You can use shoe covers, or you don't need the shoe cover, but once you're done, use the fogging machine and just disinfect your shoes. There we have it. You can use the plastic ones, or they're made out of those, the same material that those gowns are made out of, they're woven.
Okay.
And these are all disposable, single use, right? You don't need to use anything more than that. Also, gloves is essential when you go into an infected environment. Absolutely essential. When you come out, when you're done fogging an infected environment, and even when you're deep cleaning, full PPE gear, coveralls, gloves, respiratory masks, booties. That's even for the people that are wiping down. Right? Very, very, very important. And then after you fogging, after the fogging process, basically inside the home, the business, any premises, after you've done fogging, you always come out and fog the outside of the coverall. That's especially very, very important after you've been in an infected environment, because you want to decontaminate your coverall. Wait 10 minutes maximum, and then you can start undressing.
Okay. To give you an idea on the process, on our side, what we do when you go on the site, when you arrive on a property, we delimit what we call a decontamination hub. So we take a space. That is where we load all our equipment. If you're not dressed yet, we dress from there. We do a first round of decontamination. We go around with our own Sanimet, and we put some disinfectant in it. We clean ourselves, and then we draw some kind of path. So at the entrance, we put another one. And then we go there, we walk, we decontaminate ourselves, and we do the work. When we come back, then we go back to the same area where we have the, that is where we disinfect ourselves. Then we sit there, we decontaminate ourselves, and we go through the whole process of removing the PPE that we have used, which is also a very important part. I mean, maybe you can give us an additional idea on how to remove the gun after the...
I was going to get to it once we finish just explaining the fogging process. So, once you're done with any environment, especially if you've been in an infected environment, it's also extremely important to understand how to undress. You understand? So you'll have like a medical waste bin or a container with a plastic, a dustbin bag or something dedicated to putting all the contaminated, because it's contaminated, into that bin bag so that you can dispose of it safely. So we recommend a medical waste bin, but if you don't, you can use an ordinary dustbin bag. Just put it into a bucket or a container that would be of the same size. Then you start, you leave your respiratory mask on, you take off your coverall, it normally has like a hoodie, you take it off, you unzip, you leave your gloves on. Remember, you've already fogged your coverall, right? So you unzip and you slowly peel off the coverall. Come out of it, take off your booties, pick it up. You remember, you still have your gloves on. Pick it up, roll it up, and put it into the medical waste bin. Then you use your gloves again, I mean your hands, with the gloves still on. Remove your respiratory mask. Get a bucket or get any sort of container that you can close. Put it in there, because you need to take it back when you're at your office or at your head office. I'll teach you how to disinfect your face shield. You're going to use hypochlorous acid for that, right? Put it into that, seal it, and you take it back with you. Once you're done with all of that, you then use your alternative hands just to peel off your gloves, throw it into that bin, and then you use an alcohol sanitizer and just basically disinfect your hands, and then you're done. And you've had booties on, so, but if you've got those plastic booties on, then you don't need to do anything with your shoes. And when you get to your office, your respiratory mask, you'll have to spray it or fog it with hypochlorous acid, unscrew it, take out the cartridge, take a container, put some hypochlorous acid in there, and just dip your cartridges in there and let it disinfect. So whatever particles are inside the cartridge will just die immediately. So basically you'll have, when you get to your office, you'll unscrew, and all these items you'll have to disinfect with hypochlorous acid. You'll take out the cartridge.
Can't we also use an N95?
Sorry?
Can't we also use an N95 instead?
No, it's absolutely unnecessary. I would rather use a respiratory mask. You see, the problem with N95s, I'll explain it now. Here we go. This one came out pretty easy. You'll take this cartridge and you'll soak it completely in hypochlorous acid. Pull it up while it's wet and just leave it one side for 10-15 minutes. And then when it gets dry, then you can reuse it. That's how you decontaminate the cartridge. And then you just put it back in and screw it in.
Just remember as well that there is a different type of respiratory mask. There is a single respirator, and we use the double. We just realized that when you are on site and sometimes going around carrying the machine, it can become quite some kind of exhaustive effort. So you need to breathe. On our side, we tried the single respirator, and compared to the double, we found that we breathe much easier with this one. So on our side, we go for the double.
Yeah, there is various options. I mean, the full face shield. But remember, it will be, you use single, double, full face shield. Just bear in mind, it takes some bit of acclimatization, just getting used to breathing in it. So when you do put it on, stand outside for a while and just get used to breathing in it, because it's severely restrictive.
Yeah.
These things generally have between 90 and 97% filtration. So it really, really restricts the amount of air that you can pull through it. And you might feel a little bit dizzy or disorientated. So just be careful, it takes a bit of acclimatization.
Exactly.
Your question about N95 masks. First of all, they're very expensive, right? And you still will need to put goggles on. So my suggestion is rather use a full face mask with respirators. It's much better and it's more friendlier in the sense that to put on, where N95 there's a special procedure to putting an N95 on. You don't just put it on like a normal mask. There's a special procedure because you've got to create negative pressure at the back of the mask, and it's supposed to suck onto your face. In fact, if you know any doctors that are surgeons as well, and if you ask them to, when they use an N95 mask, what happens to them afterwards? When they take off the mask, it actually leaves like an indentation and a line on their face because it's meant to suck onto your face. And it's 95%, that's why they call it N95, it's 95% filtration. It's very difficult to breathe with an N95 mask. And also an N95 mask is only safe for, I think they say recommended for 8 hours. So that means you can only use it for 8 hours. So if you're doing a very big job and you're going to be busy with it the whole day, let's say like a huge warehouse, then and if you exceed the 8 hours, then you're going to have to use another one. So rather use a respirator, it's much more economical. You can clean the cartridges with hypochlorous acid and then use it for the next job. I also find it just much more safer because using a respirator mask, because you have that full face shield and it covers your entire face, or even use something like this, but then you must have goggles that have that rubber seal around it. Because they're saying there's research now that proves that the tiny saliva droplets If they land on your eye, you can also be infected. Right? So it's very, very important. Well, which masks to use. Especially in an infected way, you must take great, great care. Do not, sometimes when I go into, like we did the Botswana embassy the other day, and what we did there was we used double layer nitrile. So we put one layer of nitrile gloves on, sanitize with alcohol sanitizer, put another layer on. Just to make sure that when using the machine or moving furniture around, because sometimes it's not a very favorable environment and the chairs are left underneath the table and so we need to pull the chairs out, it could rub the glove. So you just have an added protection. If that happens, stop what you're doing. If you're busy fogging, switch the machine off, put it down, reverse back, follow trace your steps backwards to your safe zone, go there, peel off the one layer, sanitize, put another layer on, and carry on.
We have been having quite some issues with the quality of the gloves that we use during the operation, having a lot of break enough with the normal gloves. Then we found some gloves which are quite interesting. We found them from Discount. It's a red glove that apparently are used for the ambulance. They are much stronger. It's almost like your cleaning glove. Yeah. So that one, it's also a kind of expensive option. What you have been using, based on your advice, is the cleaning glove, the yellow one, that which are quite
you can use that for a surgical glove. Mm. Now, a surgical glove is meant to take a bit of like impact. Yeah, but they're very expensive. They are very expensive, but the yellow gloves is a very good option. Yeah. It's a very good option.
It's a 15 rand. Once again, it's a single use. What we do in that case, we just include the cost of actually include the cost of all the gown into the pricing. So that may be something that you're going to be interested when you go, especially for decontamination. We have decided that it's better to be safe than sorry. So in that case, we try to get the best that we can have on the market. So on our pricing, we include the price of the gloves, the price of the coverall, the price of the cover shoes, and everything that we use. That's this part of the price. That is where you need to balance so that you don't sell yourself cheaper and you start using cheap and you're going to have this incident here and there. So that's one of the things that you can take into consideration. And maybe there again, we come back to it, maybe to have an overview on the pricing, to try to understand what are the standard on the market and how you can quickly sort out your costing when you go on a job, depending on what you're going to do.
It's very important also to know your client has to be extremely honest with you regarding what's the status of the area that needs to be decontaminated. So has it been infected or is it just preventative decontamination? Right? Preventative decontamination you could relatively do very cheap. But the minute there's a contamination or an infection in that area, then you're going to start, and it becomes, your advice must always be deep clean first, and then disinfection via fogging. That is the recommendation you should give your client. After which, you'll get the situation where clients will say, no, we can't afford deep cleaning, we just want to do fogging. But then obviously you must remember, your certificate should indicate deep cleaning was not done. And in which case you cannot, especially if it's an infected environment, you cannot give certification to that area. Because the cleaning and disinfection process was not carried out as per regulation. It's very important. So that even a client has to understand. In order to provide certification holistically, they need to have clean and disinfected, deep clean and disinfected. You cannot, there's no way you can guarantee that area is safe if you only do the disinfection function. Cleaning is very, very, very vital. Very vital. You must make sure.
Yeah, another thing, we're talking about the communication with the client. We have realized, especially since the increase on the contamination case, that the clients are reluctant to disclose the status of the premises that you're going to call.
Yes.
So what they do, you call them, and is it just a normal sanitization, or there have been at least one positive case so that then they will try to hide. So what we have done on our side, there, again, based on the recommendation that we had from the head office, we have considered a form where we ask them basic questions. And when we communicate them, we want to know in advance what is the situation. And just to make them understand what is the gravity of the situation, because you don't want to go in a site where there have been a problem and you are not prepared. Actually, we have just decided that every time when we go on the site, we go there as if there were a contamination, because there are a lot of lies. There were even a case where it was a medical clinic, where the doctor, who was the owner of that place, tried to lie to us that there was a positive case. So that be very careful, because you'll be going there without knowing what is happening. You're going to go start touching things, and then you will be the one ending up with the problem. So we got a form when we ask them to specify if there was a contamination, if there was this, if there was that. We'll share that form with you. And at the end, when we go on the site, they need to sign that form. And that is how we do it. But try to know before going there what is the status, and tell them that they will be liable if they lie about the status of the premises, and if there's incidents which result from them not disclosing what is the real status of that place. Otherwise, you will be the one being at risk, and that will be probably your responsibility.
It's very important. So full disclosure is very, very important. It's actually a legal requirement now in South Africa.
Okay.
Full disclosure, that you could be held legally liable for not disclosing. It's the same. The same goes for if we all worked for this company and you were infected and you lie every day through screening that have you been close to people that have been possibly COVID infected, or have you had any contact, or have you been overseas? If you lie on that form and the other people get infected in your surroundings, you could be legally liable for their treatment.
Yeah, and that's very important. I'm talking from a very personal perspective. I was contaminated. I was tested positive some few weeks ago, and I was contaminated in a workplace. Whereby some of my colleagues were tested positive, some of them were even having treatment at the place. They didn't disclose it to the others. So what happened is that 4 people were contaminated in that specific place, and out of that, 2 people died, unfortunately. The 3 remaining one developed the sickness. He almost passed on as well. And the last 2, myself and the other one, didn't develop any sign, but are spent 14 days under treatment in self-isolation. So it's very, very important. People think that it's something innocent, and that is something that I don't understand. It's not an MST. It's not something that you need to be shameful of. So what is the reason why people are reluctant to disclose? Because on the other side, you and I may survive because our body are strong enough, but you may pass it to someone who doesn't have the natural ability of resisting it and is going to die. And this is what happened. This is from a very personal experience. Someone who was infected around myself passed on. So it's very important, even for ourselves, to take some of those precautions. I think the example should start with ourselves. It's a flu. At the end of the day, it's something, prevention is much better. So the sooner you will disclose and the sooner you will take the necessary precaution to avoid exposing the others, you may save life, because at the end of the day, people are dying out of this thing. So that is something that you need to be very, very strict with, and to be very careful yourself. But I believe that a part of the work that we do is to make people understand. There is a bit of communication in what we do. When we interact with the clients, whether it's before or after, or during the proceeding that we do, we have somehow also the duty to inform them when it's possible about the risk, about the thing, and about the way that they should behave if something happens around them.
Yeah, people feel very embarrassed to admit that they've been either COVID positive, and I think it's actually nonsense. I mean, you have a moral responsibility to tell. It's also, as owners of the business, you should train staff to also understand that they have the responsibility to do their job correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes physically impossible to make sure that staff members are, if they keep cleaning, that they keep cleaning everything there. You know, if they see the supervisor or the owner is not looking, then they do certain areas and they don't do other areas. That's where training comes in, and to help them understand why it is so important to do their job correctly, because people are depending on you. I mean, if you go to a house, a home now, and they've had a COVID positive case, they're basically relying on you to make sure that their home is safe. You understand what I'm saying? You can't, I mean, strictly speaking, you have a moral responsibility to make sure that you've done your job correctly, that the home is now rendered safe. That's why where the training comes in, how to fog, how to layer, all those things are very, very important, especially high contact areas like desks underneath the table, the surface top, chairs underneath the chair, because when people get a bit more relaxed and they hold the bottom of the chair, the back rest of the chair, you know, because you're pulling it out, pushing it back in, door handles. Look, today everybody, it's illegal, it's mandatory for people to have masks, so a lot of saliva spread is prevented with face shields and masks and that, but you still can't take that chance. Like windows and it have to be cleaned properly, and fog, create a nice layer on it so that it's safe, decontaminated. You don't have to do ceilings because it's a non-contact area. So whenever you fog, you don't do higher than 1.8 meters, because when we talk, remember, the saliva droplets are heavy, so they float around, and now there's new research that tells us that the droplets stay in the air for up to 5-6 minutes before they start settling. So, but nothing travels upwards. So we recommend maximum 1.8 meters. Nothing more than that. If it's not a contact area, don't waste time and also product on ceilings and that. It's not a contact area.
Okay. So that's the precaution. With regard to the airborne status of the virus, does it change our processes, or we still focus?
When it does, because you must remember, they don't know yet. They don't know. There is no confirmed research that proves that it's temporarily airborne. Temporarily. For between 6, I mean, you can go as far as to say that it's the droplets stay in the air. A maximum I have read is 10 minutes. Without a face mask, without a shield. I mean, you can just see that I've been talking. Look at all the droplets on
I've seen that.
You've seen what I'm
Actually,
saying?
you've been in trouble.
Yeah. We'll get tested. Don't trust me.
The other thing that I would like to take, the difference between the thermal fogger
Yes.
and the UAV, because now more and more people are moving into buying a thermal fogger.
So we go with very, very, very logical explanation for something like that. Thermal foggers are for airborne viruses. UAV foggers are for wet viruses. Now, COVID-19 is a wet virus. It survives in our saliva. We spread it with saliva. Now, simply, if you have a wet virus, you treat it with wet chemicals. Because to get through the cell, you need something heavy. Smoke is very light. How is the smoke going to penetrate the outer shell of the virus? It can't. It's too light. And it's not an airborne virus. And also, thermal foggers are extremely, extremely hazardous. Because the chemicals that they use are heated up to create those large volumes of smoke. Typically, if you use a thermal fogger in any environment, the entire space cannot be used for 24 hours until all those hazardous chemicals have subsided.
That's a thermal fogger.
Yeah. So many people.
And they're becoming more and more popular.
Yes, because people believe that it's a visual stigma. The people see huge volumes of smoke and they think, oh no, it's doing a better job. It's false. You get what I'm trying to say. And say, oh no, it's dramatic, you know, like, oh no, I think I want to be in there. But if you go into that environment, you start coughing, people get nauseous because the chemicals are extremely hazardous, extremely, extremely hazardous.
So they don't make the difference.
Sorry?
They don't make the difference.
Nothing.
Because
No,
it's
you've done
our small toy against the big gun. And they come with 2 tanks.
Yeah.
You look like a Rambo holding that big thing.
Exactly.
And the people are more and more.
Yeah, so don't be fooled by that. You need your focus. The world, I mean, even health departments around the world have proven that ULV foggers work. Because you need to coat everything. Whenever the virus has landed or sitting, you need to just coat it with a very fine layer. And don't wet anything. By putting extra product onto anything doesn't mean you're doing the job better. The other very important thing between the disinfectants is QAC and hypochlorous acid. The question of which one is stronger doesn't exist. They both do the same. They both disinfect at the same rate. The difference is QAC has a built-in cleaning molecule inside, whereas the hypochlorous doesn't. So that's the primary difference. So it's not like, oh no, I want medical grade because it's stronger, it can kill anything and everything. No. And we've got test results that we've done on our own to prove that. Because we also we had a lot of queries from customers saying that, no, I'd rather just go for, like medical grade. I have a school in Auckland Park. They've got about 300 small children. And the lady refused to use QAC. Because the minute I told her about medical grade, so all she heard was medical grade. Nothing else. All the other information I gave her, it's sort of like just one ear out of the other. She just heard medical grade. Please give me 50 liters. I want that. Then I had to physically prove to her, not that, we all love to do business, right? Medical grade, the hypochlorous acid is more expensive than QAC. It is. But we're a solutions-based company. We must give people the right advice. Do you understand? Not to waste money. And no matter how much I told her, I even proved it to her with test results. And at the end of the day, her chemical of choice was hypochlorous acid. So I also had to inform her that by using hypochlorous acid, understand that you'll have to be cleaning separately. Every single day, you physically have to wipe the desks, the chairs, because the hypochlorous acid will only disinfect. The other reason why I forgot to mention, please excuse me, is that if you don't clean the dust off tables, and if there's any droplets underneath, and the dust is on those droplets, when you use the fogging machine, you're basically coating the dust. The droplets stay active underneath. In certain environments like fridges, wet areas like sculleries, they're saying the droplets stay active, the virus droplets stay active for up to 24 hours. In fact, in a fridge, I think it's like something like 36 hours or something like that. So hypochlorous acid, like we did Steers and Debonairs, plenty of their stores all around Johannesburg. We actually opened a cold room and we spray everything inside with hypochlorous acid. Remember, food contact area. So we need food grade disinfectant. But they decided to do the deep cleaning themselves, so they got their own staff to deep clean, and then we came in and we just disinfected by fogging. And our certificate specifically stated that all we did was the disinfection fogging. We did not clean. So your certificate must be very clear. What did you do? The extent of work. What is that? It's either you word it as extent of work or scope of work. Because that legally mitigates risk. You get what I'm trying to say? Remember, to give certification, it must be holistic. Cleaning and disinfection. Alright. Very, very important. Very, very important. The customers mustn't be misled to believing that you can just go in there with the fogging machine, and I wouldn't give them a certificate. Because we don't know. We don't know how dirty the place is. I don't want to mention names, but we went to a specific embassy in Pretoria, and the more I asked them about cleaning, they assured us that they clean. And when we went in with the fogging machines, the minute you switched on the machine, and this creates large volumes of air, I just saw poof, puffs of dust. So we took a video of it and we sent it to the ambassador, and we said, this is not right. We were assured that the embassy was clean. Also, when fogging, you should advise your clients to keep areas generally clean of papers, because look at this folder is here, right? If I fog, basically the chemical will sit here on top, nothing will go underneath. So if there's any particles at the bottom, how do you get to it? So you have to learn to adopt a clean desk policy. That means whichever staff member was busy here with paperwork, gather your papers, file it, pack everything away, so all areas are exposed, so when you come to clean and disinfect, everything gets done. Very important. If there's a jacket over the chair, there's no way you'll be able to get the fog underneath there. And the fogging team, it's not their job to start cleaning up and then fog, and you get what I'm trying to say. They're just there to fog. Very, very important. So clean areas, tidy areas are very important. If everything is like, I mean, we did a plastics factory in Shamdo, in Krugersdorp. Very, very dirty factory. No matter how much we explained to the owners that they need to clean the factory, they had a COVID positive case. I asked them to clean the factory. They didn't want us to do it because obviously they didn't have the budget for it. Or I wouldn't say they didn't have the budget, they just didn't want to spend the money because they feel, it's just wasting money. So I told them, I said, so how do we go about this? He says, no, don't use QAC, use hypochlorous acid. So he went for a more expensive chemical, not that it does the job better. And then I still explained to him, it's only a disinfectant. Your areas are dirty. You know a simple thing about disinfection, let me explain. If you wash your car, if you want to clean your car and polish it, you first have to wash it and then polish it, am I right? You can't just take a dirty car and start polishing. It's the same thing with disinfection. I even gave him that example. At the end of the day, all he wanted us to do was just disinfect. So we did that and we provided no certification, and he was happy with it. He was happy. You know what he did? He got somebody in his factory, one of the supervisors, to take a video of my staff fogging and you know how many square meters? 15,000 square meters. You see, because it's no consideration for his staff. No consideration. That, I mean, you know, now you're actually doing nothing. You're doing nothing, you're just wasting money. And he paid us for disinfection with hypochlorous acid, very expensive, 28 rand a litre, plus VAT. No, he just did that and he was happy. We gave him no certificate. There was no way we would ever certify that area. And that's what it was. So any questions, anything, any sector of industry that you need clarification about?
Costing?
Right. Deep cleaning, let's start with deep cleaning because that's the first process. It's a very expensive process, very labor intensive. It all depends, I'll give you the structure because we don't know, I can't be assured what rate you're paying your staff per hour, right? So it's a multitude of factors. How far is the site from your head office? Could be 100 kilometers. So traveling time. How many people are you sending to site? How big is the site? So you must do like, initially you must do 100 square meters and see how long one person takes to do 100 square meters, two people takes to do 100 square meters. That only you know. And in the beginning you will make mistakes. I wouldn't say you lose money, but you just wouldn't make enough money. So your profit might be a bit low, but you get significantly better and better at costing your services as you do more sites. Right? But in the market generally, anything from 20 rand a square meter, I mean there are companies that charge as much as 100 rand a square meter. But I would say for deep cleaning you wouldn't go past 50 rand a square meter. I mean that's a lot. It's a lot. You must stay between 0 and 30. Try and get it in that figure. And it also depends on the scope of work, how much. And by that I mean, let's say a school with 60 classrooms phones you and they say, listen, come and do deep cleaning. You'd have to go in assessment, you do an assessment of the site to know that, listen, if I come here with 20 people, I can get the school done in one day, maybe in half a day. But if you go there with 2 people, obviously you're going to be there for maybe 2 or 3 days. So all those factors are very, very important. When it comes to fogging, the product cost is below 3 cents a square meter on QAC. On hypochlorous acid, 20 cents a square meter if you're going to be layering, right? But that's just product cost. Once again, you'll need to factor in the price of your labor. What does it cost you per hour for your staff? And then add that per square meter divided by the square meters, and then you'll get a cost on that. Your call-out fee depends on how far you travel. Very, very important. Now, the market research that we have is that fogging started off at like 5 and 7 and 10 rand a square meter, and now as it becomes more popular, it has dropped. QAC as little as 150 cents a square meter, 1 rand a square meter. You can do it for that. And it's not about hit and run business. By that I mean it's not about just doing it once for a client. You must try and get the business repeated. So give him a good, I'm not saying go in very, very cheap, but I'm saying give him a very good deal so that he calls you over and again. Because strictly speaking, disinfection should happen every day. Under these conditions, with the virus spreading so rapidly right now, you need to do it every day. At least once a day. So all the schools that we've advised, every single one of them, so there's a very good big school group private school group, they're advising all 128 campuses to do it twice a day. Once before the kids arrive in the morning and once when they leave in the afternoon. Not necessary, I would still say once a day is enough. Because remember, when the kids leave in the afternoon, you fog the area, it's sanitized. If nobody goes into that area, the area is still sanitized, it's still safe.
So why do we eat in the morning before we come?
They just, rich people's kids, you see, so they're trying to just add value for them, you understand?
Not better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bought me for about the client.
They don't, and against our, they're doing it because the product was so cheap that and we train the current staff to do the process, so it doesn't cost them extra money. So those are very, very important lessons about fogging. Is that how often it should be done, and you must be very, very honest with your clients. A very important question that clients will ask you is how long does your chemical last? How long does it last? How long does it stay active? 4 hours. Doesn't matter whether you use QAC or hypochlorous acid. 4 hours.
So there is no product. I've seen people advertising products which last 30 days and the
You must prove it.
24 hours and all of that. So
Alexander Forbes, the insurance company in Sandton City, phoned us and they phoned a rival company for quotes and advice on fogging 2 floors, 40,000 square meters. Just 2 floors, and they've got 8 floors. 40,000 square meters. Our rival guaranteed Alexander Forbes that the product stays active for 30 days. Simple. They asked me for a response. I said 100%. Tell him if the product company and him can give us in writing a guarantee that in 30 days, if we have one COVID positive case, who is liable? Who's liable? Don't lie. Do not lie to clients. You understand? Remember, we go back to the same thing. You have a moral responsibility to be honest all the time. So we told the facilities director at Alexander Forbes, how do you, it's 40,000 square meters. They have something like 2,000 people working there. How do we guarantee that each member is not COVID negative? You understand? And you can't control staff behavior. There's no way you can control staff behavior. And the more we explained it to him, the more it made sense to him, and they gave us the job. Because we're not selling you a miracle liquid. We're giving you a workable solution. We're being honest that there's nothing that can guarantee you this thing. Now, I'll just give you sort of like these room foggers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these things, you must, there's lots of YouTube videos as well. I must just try and send you some. They've done tests with these things. They do nothing. What does alcohol do? The minute you remember, even alcohol, if you pour it on your hand and you just don't rub it, just leave it like this, it rapidly evaporates. Imagine in a fogger form. it evaporates faster because the droplet is smaller. So what did he do? All he did was he put on a big show. That's all he did. These things are absolutely, this is a gimmick. This is a gimmick. You know, they don't do anything. They don't do anything, and there's proof against this. If the virus was airborne, yes, you could put 4 cans here and sanitize the atmosphere. That's why we actually don't like room foggers, alcohol room foggers, and they're very hazardous. You understand? I mean, imagine inhaling alcohol all the time. They're very, very hazardous. Lots of companies are now trying to find alternatives to alcohol sanitizers. One such example is hypochlorous acid, which can be used as a hand sanitizer. You get what I'm trying to say, right? Now, you could, if you put lots of cans of foggers in this area, yes, it would do something because the concentration is higher. But just one can will do nothing. You must also remember, if you go into the World Health Organization website and you read about how effective is alcohol as a sanitizer. So remember we talked about mechanical action. So when the WHO, World Health Organization, says use alcohol sanitizers with mechanical action, otherwise it does nothing. So if let's say my hands had virus particles on it, and if I took a cup and I poured alcohol onto it, I did nothing. Still active. All the particles still active. You need mechanical action, rubbing action. Alcohol does nothing. But where alcohol would work is if you had a big bucket here, you dip your hands and you leave it there for 10 minutes. That article is on WHO site. You can go read it. So be careful about what people tell you about alcohol. Understand its efficacy, how effective it is. It has its place. It does work with mechanical action. And the minute it's dry, your hands are exposed again. So there's no lasting effect. You understand what I'm saying? So if I sanitize my hands and if I touch this machine and there's any particles on it, my hands are infected again. Whereas water-based disinfectants have a lasting effect. They get reactivated for 4 hours. Very, very important. What else can I tell you about? No, I think we covered everything else there. So with QAC, anyway, I wouldn't go more for the fogging process. I wouldn't go more than 250 cents a square meter. In fact, when you get to like Alexander Frob's, when we did 40,000 square meters, we actually didn't charge them per square meter. We charged them for hours on the job and product use. You understand what I'm saying? Because if we had to charge them per square meter, I mean, imagine if we just charged them 100 a square meter, it was 40,000 rand just to do 2 floors. It's an 8-floor building.
My partner, she's working on this state-owned enterprise.
Yes.
And they requested the code last 2 weeks on the 4-story, I think it's 2-floor story.
Yeah.
And one person charged them 25 grand and the other one charged them 175.
Yeah.
So they did not know how this one got used.
So what actually happens is sometimes higher codes are because there's many hands to feed. You get what I'm trying to say, just to get the contract. People, 25,000 then sounds, depending on how many square meters, sounds about right. You know, if it's a big property, yes, or building or space, sounds about right. I mean, we did 40,000 square meters for Alexander Forbes and we charged them 28,000. But we were there, we were a team of 8 people. We had 6 machines on site, 3 per floor. And we finished it in 5 hours. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you put the machine on 40 micron, 50 micron maximum, you'll get about between, call it 600 and 1,000 square meters, depending on what your setting is here. You get between 600 and 1,000 square meters from a tank. Alright, that's your spread rate. And you're not going to use much more than 50 micron. We won't advise you to use more than that. because now you're just wasting product. And remember, I said you can only go to 70, after which you start misting. Right? And that's all you need. You don't need more than 50 to 60 micron here. I mean, I have set the machine to maximum 70 micron for a few clients. That's on special request, but they know full well, they made an informed decision that they're going to be using more product. But because it's so cheap, they decided that they wanted to, they don't care about using more product, but they wanted to layer it a bit thick. Gyms, we sold 2 machines to a gym, top floor, bottom floor. They also wanted 60, 70 micron because they wanted to cover the dumbbells and the, the cushions and everything properly. But also, once again, they clean every single day. They have they cleaners clean in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. But it's a private gym, so private gyms are allowed to operate.
Yeah. Use of the OptiFog Pro outdoor.
You can use it outdoor. You can use it outdoor. The only thing is the wind factor. The wind factor. If there's lots of wind, then it's going to blow the fog away all the time. Then you might have to go for one of the EnviroFog 1000p.
That's the backpack.
Yeah, the backpack.
Yeah, there's also some kind of competition between the backpack and the ULV fogger.
Yeah.
Because in most of the case, I think they come a bit cheaper. As then the difference when you offer the OptiFog Pro, people will give you the comparison that not someone telling me that, if someone is offering me a backpack, it's 16 liter of product, it's this and that. How do you balance?
Simple argument. The backpack petrol models are outdoor units. So I went to do a demo yesterday in Edenville for one of the largest haberdashery stores in Gauteng, basically. They do materials, for ladies who want to make their own clothes, curtaining, stuff. It's just they sell material. 6,000 square meters, one store. There's a big store in Shamdo, in Krugersdorp, 2 floors, each floor 10,000 square meters. Absolutely insisted that he wanted a petrol unit. So I went to consult. Asked him, I said, where are you going to be using it? He says, no, indoors, but doesn't want to know about the ULV fogger because he saw this big fancy backpack with the big lance and he was very impressed. So I took the machine with me because we carry stock of it. And I said, okay, 100%. Let's use the petrol. I said, what do you do about the carbon monoxide poisoning? Because petrol machines create carbon monoxide, the fumes from the exhaust. So he had no answer. So I said, so what are you going to do? While clients are in here, you're going to fog the whole area, create a poisonous environment, and then walk out of here. And remember, those petrol machines are more misters than they are foggers. Remember, a ULV fogger can create fog. These things are actually misters. So their microns start from 120. That's where they start. They don't start from 0. This starts from 0 to 150. I'll even demonstrate it now. I have it plugged in. I want to demonstrate it to you. A petrol machine, it actually starts at like 100, 120 micron, and it goes all the way to 500, 600 micron. And all it does is just wets everything. So the mines, you want that or a sort of application for outdoor use. The miners, the handrails, corridors. But inside they'll use a ULV fogger. You can also use a ULV fogger outside, but bear in mind there will be some wind factor. When there's a bit of wind factor, you might have to turn the micron up, just to create more volume. So let me show you here quickly about microns. I'll just point it in this direction. what you don't want. This is a fine example of what you don't want. This is exactly what that backpack unit will do to you. It will just start wetting everything. Then the drying time will become significantly higher. I mean, it goes, instead of minutes, it becomes hours. You get what I'm saying? And it's not something that you want to do. And that's besides the carbon monoxide poisoning. When I walked out of his store in Edenvale, he had signed a purchase order for 6 machines for all 3 stores. 2 machines per stores. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's about how you explain it. If you're going to be selling it, how you explain it to the customer. We got various machines. I mean, we've even got a big cannon. Right? And this is meant to do big city streets. Put it in the back of a truck with a feeder tank, and it fogs entire cities. You get what I'm saying? Buildings and streets, and just to do large volumes very, very, very quickly. Also, drying times will be significantly higher, but also it'll get the job done quicker. And that's the difference. I mean, the minute people tell you about thermal foggers, just know that it's for airborne viruses. It was actually designed for malaria, countries that have high concentration of malaria infection and that, to kill the mosquitoes and stuff, to create smoke. So up in Africa, very popular, very, very, very popular. But ULV foggers were designed initially for agricultural use, to spray pesticide very economically. Because even fruit and vegetables only need a very fine coating. And that's where ULV foggers were developed. And now they've basically found an added function for disinfection. So it wasn't initially developed for disinfection, but they've adapted it to work for disinfection.
The other thing as well, if you allow, on the sale part, people will come with arguments about the cost of the Optifog Pro and the one of the XL. They will come with comparison. They found a yearly fogger on the market for 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, whereby our Pro is
Simple. Remember, all these machines, they can't give you the guarantee that they can work all day. This is a commercial machine, it can work all day. It's supported in country. Most of those machines, from any one of them, and ask them if they have space. So we also sell the XL unit, which is the blue unit here. And I'll tell you straight up, we carry no space for this machine. Nothing. If you purchase that machine from us, knowing full well it has a 6-month warranty, if anything goes wrong, and unfortunately, those machines are not made by us, they're made in another country. So we cannot guarantee you nothing will go wrong. So if something does go wrong, even if it's a small thing, you literally will have to bring it to me, we'll package it and send it overseas for repairs, in which case you don't have a machine for 6 weeks. So that's systemic risk, right? So if I take your machine away for 6 weeks, what do you tell your staff? Go home until the machine comes back. This machine, we come on site. I fixed Sylvia's machine, he had a broken pipe. I fixed it on site. 20 minutes I was done.
Why?
You understand? Sorry?
Why? Because now you'll find I mean elsewhere.
Sorry, I didn't hear that?
I stay in Pumalanga.
So what we do currently, if like we have agents in Durban and Cape Town, right? That they can fix machines on site. But we have a client in PE, we don't have an agent there. So 2 options we gave him. Either we send the parts down to him and we walk his technical team through the repair process. So I think we sent it on Friday. He received it yesterday. He wants to do the repair tomorrow. So I will go, we'll do a live video feed and I will teach him how to repair his machine. So we can do it that way, or we'll just pay for courier costs to bring the machine to us. And then we fix it. What we normally do is we tell the courier to wait for us, because it takes us 20 minutes. Fix it and we send it off. Especially when it comes to far out lying areas, we won't waste time. Like if it's a motor related issue, we'll unbolt the motor, take another motor, put it back in and send the machine off. We'll fix that other motor whenever we have time. properly serviced. This is supported by us 100%.
So in this case, this training gives me a right to give out the spirit.
Yes. You must understand what fogging is.
Yeah.
You must understand the difference between fogging, misting. You must understand disinfection. You must understand what's cleaning, deep cleaning. You must know what you're doing. You understand? There is no real structured guidelines because remember it's new in South Africa. It's new in the entire world. But what departments are saying is that at least the people purchasing the machine must have some sort of guideline as to what they need to be doing. So with regarding the process. That's why when you buy a machine from us, the training is included. So that you understand how to use your machine, what to do, what not to do. You understand? Further than that, the only thing that's billable or that we'll charge you for is production planning. So, when we sell machines, like we've had a number of clients that ask us, okay, we bought the machine, we know how to use the machine, but we don't know where to start in our factory, or in our business, or in our school, and where to end. So one fine example was a school in Springs. I delivered the machine, then they didn't use the machine for 2 weeks, because they didn't know where to start and where to stop. So then they called me back, they made an appointment, and I spent 6 hours with them, and we literally did the whole school. So I taught their staff members how to clean the classrooms, how to fog, which classroom to start with, which one to end with. So I taught them a production cycle. Basically what to do, and then they just follow it every day.
Where to start in the classroom? At the back?
At the back, and you walk towards the exit. So if that's the exit door, I will start here, move my way around, backwards to that exit door. The minute I'm done there, I will fog the handles and close the door. And then nobody can come for 15 minutes. So from the furthest point towards the exit. The same goes for a home. You'll start right at the back, the furthest point in the house. You go right to the back of the home and start working yourself outwards, closing doors as you done.
About curtains, you mentioned something. But you can wash them yourself, isn't it? You can make them also.
So if it's an infected environment, you either fog, you can fog them, right? But if they're very soiled, if they're dirty, then they need to be taken off. If they've got a lot of dust on it, they have to be taken off, dry cleaned, or sent to a laundromat, or alternatively by the homeowner or the business owner, right? Blinds need to be wiped. That's very important because blinds harbor a lot of dust. So that in your deep cleaning process, that will have to be done. But mostly, I mean, like in a home environment, generally, we've been to plenty of homes, and generally we don't have a problem. So what we do is we just tell the homeowner to close the curtains, then we fog the curtains, open it, the back of the curtains, the windows, and then we leave it like that. As long as there's no like clouds of dust in the air, then it's fine.
No, I'm running a funeral parlor and you will take me, so I just want to know, because some clients say, is a COVID-19 after funeral, we want you to come in.
Yeah, so there's lots of things that you need to do as the parlor owner. So when people arrive, make sure that everybody's wearing a mask, everybody. So inform the family members that, listen, and you know, I think government has regulation, only 50 family members per funeral, right? Or per event. So all of them have to understand. Either you come, everybody must get dressed in coveralls, which is, I think, the right way to do it. So one of my reps in one of my other businesses, he passed away of COVID-19, right? And the funeral home broadcast the entire funeral ceremony for all of us to watch because we couldn't attend. On YouTube, and what they're doing is they provide part of the service, part of the whole their pricing structure. Each family member gets anybody attending the funeral gets a coverall, they get a mask, they get goggles, they get gloves, they get booties, and that way just to keep the contamination low. And you should do the same. If you can, if you can provide it that way, you know the parlor is always, the sitting area is always clean. You can use your fogging machine before they arrive, disinfect, and I mean, if the person has passed on because of COVID-19, they generally give you a sealed coffin. You can't open the coffin. Alright, so that shouldn't be, you don't even need to, and no one should actually touch the coffin. I mean, it might sound a bit disrespectful, but you could even disinfect the coffin, the outside.
We wrap it.
Yeah, you can wrap it, you know, but you have to be really sensitive about something like that, you know, don't disrespect anybody. And then provide sanitizers all the time, even though they have gloves. Remember, you don't know where the particles are. Provide alcohol sanitizer, or you can use hypochlorous acid and just give it to them to rub all the time. So you just do preventative, and then when everybody has left, clean up, vacuum, sanitize again.
I was in a meeting last week, so I think I'm taking over now.
Okay.
I was in a meeting, I'm also a provincial secretary of my association.
Yes.
So we were in a meeting in Siabuso last week.
Yes.
And those in the other guys complained that everyone is saying the overall, but you have these goggles that always wear a blanket.
Yes.
Around, so it's not easy for them. Actually, they cannot wear
They can't.
the overall.
Look, it takes some degree of understanding, you know, to help them understand why they can't. You know, I'm Indian, right? And our funerals are somewhat big as well, because we do cremations, right? And it's difficult to understand, like, my uncle passed away, COVID-19. My mother absolutely insisted. She says, no, she grew up with him. You know, he was elder than my mom, and he used to look after my mom when my mom was younger and stuff like that. But she felt very hurt when I told her, Mom, you can't attend. There's no way I would allow you to attend a gathering like that. Firstly, you're not immediate family. Secondly, and when I say immediate blood family, I said you can't attend. Secondly, my mom is 78 years of age. She's in the ultra high risk category. And generally, old people have underlying conditions: sugar, or diabetes, hypertension, which is blood pressure, cholesterol. Some of them have kidney problems. So we would advise not to donate. And I think you, as a funeral parlor as well, you should advise your clients that, look, elderly people should refrain from attending the. Sometimes it's unavoidable, you know, especially if it's a child, or I mean, God forbid it is, but you know, it's unavoidable. But you should always do the responsible thing and give them the right advice. That's your moral responsibility. You must tell them what must happen, and then at the end of the day, they will make their own decision. You should never get involved with the emotional part of it. Your job is to advise correctly. Listen, elderly people, refrain from coming. And you should provide alcohol sanitizer even if they don't have. I would keep masks on hand, 3-ply masks, more than enough, and they've come down ridiculously in price. I think they started off at 16 Rand a mask. I can buy them for like 150 cents now, which is actually the price, to be honest with you. You know, yeah, you don't need to provide KN95s and all these FFP2s, and it's absolutely unnecessary. Those 3-ply masks just to prevent the spread of saliva. Simple as that. And goggles, especially in an environment where lots of people are, just goggles.
Yeah, it's difficult in the rural. Right?
Yeah, it's very difficult. The challenge is real. I'm telling you, the challenge is real. Budget constraints. So you go to somebody, and now, you know, funerals were expensive before COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now to tell them you need to add more money for PPE becomes a problem. That's why you got to limit the number. You got to limit the number. And then you also got to understand that when they take off their coveralls after the ceremony or whatever the case may be, you must get rid of the PPE accordingly. I mean, you as a funeral parlor, because of the high volume and high traffic, you would have to phone a company to get medical waste bins and get rid of it. You have to, because that stuff has to be incinerated. But I mean, it's technically, when I say technically, because it hasn't yet been government gazetted. Right now, strictly speaking, you could dump it into a dustbin, and the guys come once a week and they collect it. It's legal. But in most European countries, that stuff, they've got special bins for stuff like that. It has to be treated as medical waste. Same like a hospital. I mean, everything is about prevention and spread. of the virus. Every step of the way, you must think about the minutest problems. Mop caps, you can give everybody that come there, mop caps, all of those things. And there's basically, if there's any other questions regarding any specific industry, I'm more than happy, because I think we've had a good spread and exposure to lots of different types of businesses. I mean, lots. I can tell you, we've provided like crashes with solutions. We've been approved by the Fertility Association of Africa. The president himself has given us approval for our machines and our chemicals. There's two or three very top, highly rated fertility clinics in South Africa that are using our equipment and our chemicals. You can use them as references, we can give you numbers, you can speak to them freely on your own, you can visit them and ask them about their experience using our machines. They generally don't give us trouble. When I say generally, we had a small problem with these pipes, but we've since upgraded them and we don't have any more problems. See, that's the difference when you buy this machine, that we're continuously making efforts to make the machine better and better and better. None of our machines you can use alcohol in, because it's electrostatic, it will explode. If you were fortunate enough to use alcohol, which we do not recommend, the other problem is it will damage the internal components. So we've had one client already that has tried to use hand sanitizer, by the way, damaged the machine, and he said goodbye to a 16,000 rand machine. So
I don't know if you have mentioned it, the amount of disinfection that you can do with the 25 liter concentrate, just to come back to it.
the QAC.
Yeah, with the QAC.
So with the QAC, I mean, you must remember, one drum like this will make 1,750 liters. Depending on what micron setting you use, geez, you can do just under 100,000 square meters with it. So it's going to keep you a long time before you need replenishing, depending on how much you use. We've had clients that use one in a month. What they use it on, But some are using it for cleaning, general cleaning, wiping, because it's no rinse formula, right?
You say you mix it with how many liters of water?
1 to 70. 1 liter of concentrate, 70 liters of water. Well, after you mix this, it's basically 1,750 liters of ready to use product.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Hypochlorous acid you will use neat, that does not get diluted. Not at all. Nothing. You use it straight from the drum into the machine. But SAF disinfect is very important. If you use too little, it won't work. And if you use too much, if you make the mixture stronger, you will create toxicity, you create a poisonous environment. Remember I said, it's only safe at the recommended dilution ratio. So we've had plenty of schools that have said to us, phoned us and said, no, we want to double the dose. I said, but why? No, it's going to be stronger, it's going to kill it in less time. No, we get lots of queries like it. I must tell you, if you're going forward, you'll have the same sort of scenario. You'll have people asking you the same. It sounds hilarious, but to me, it doesn't even sound funny anymore because I hear it so often. One guy insisting, no, I just want to put 1 liter in 1 liter, 1 by 1 to 1. I want to make it strong.
The virus to die.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I asked him, I said, you want to kill the virus or the people? Which one?
So we will provide you with, once again, I think we already have the links to the YouTube channel. We are going to work with the head office on producing additional information on video so that it can be available to everyone for wherever you are through YouTube. We will be doing also updated video. Maybe we're going to discuss the possibility of doing some kind of show whereby, depending on the subject, every month we can do like a small show where we're going to update you with information. We have not just noticed that information is very key in this current situation, whereby the experts, the scientists are still trying to find out what is happening. So every time there will be relevant information which can be useful for the work that we are all providing. will definitely always be there to provide you a way of getting access to those information. And at the same time, if there are specific question or specific process, a specific thing that you need to understand with regard to the thing that you are encountering on a daily basis, do not hesitate to ask and to find out. We'll definitely always be available to provide you all the additional information that may help you to work better. There was a last thing maybe which was quite important is the use of other product on the machine. But we mentioned it later, slightly. Who will prefer and we advise the use of uniquely our product when it comes to the disinfectant in the machine. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what is the concentration of the other product, we don't know the effects, they are not being tested. They may be cause damage on the machine. So I think our products, when it comes to the disinfectant, are quite very well priced. We are very competitive, so as much, no, not even as much, always use the recommended product on the machine, so that if there's any problem, the way you use the machine doesn't compromise the guarantee that you give on the machine. We'll give you full guarantee on all the use, on the defect that may come with the product, only if you are sure and you have the assurance that the machine has been properly used and the right product have been used with the machine.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that is something which is key to the relationship that we are trying to establish.
It's very important. You need to make sure, because we guarantee the machine based on the fact that you use our chemicals.
Exactly.
Because we don't know, it's not tested. All our chemicals, even our machines, our company only sells certified chemicals and equipment. Machine has a European certification, chemicals, all made in South Africa, SABS, NRCS, WHO, EPA ratings, ISO 9001 facility that produces it, ISO 15000 accreditation for the chemicals. So fully certified. If you use anything else, you won't even be able to provide a certificate because you need to make sure that that product has certification. And even if it does have certification, you don't know what the effects is on our machine. So in which case you will void your warranty, right?
On the other side, it may have an impact as well on the work that you're going to provide. You take another product, go and do a work, and then we cannot guarantee the quality of the work that you have provided, because we don't know, once again, what are the different certifications, what are the composition of the product.
So we can't back you up as well. Yeah. So if you have queries from a client saying that no, but you came to provide us with this service and this is what happened, we can provide you with test certificates. Would you get the same backup from another supplier? That's the most important question. Sales and support is what we pride ourselves on. That's what you're buying confidence. It's one thing to purchase a machine, it's a whole nother area when it comes to support. So we are available all the time, Saturday, Sunday, doesn't matter what the time is. Phone us if you're going to go do a job and you need some technical advice. Phone us before the time, don't make a mistake, phone us.
Okay. Available on calls, available on WhatsApp, and then we will definitely always be there.
Sorry?
I'm taking in schools and
Yes.
they needed that environmental approval.
Yes.
I spoke to environment, then they needed.
No, we'll give you everything. All the products will come with MSDSs. You have a legal obligation to provide it to the client. You need to give it to them. So you will print it out, you laminate it, or you can give it to them unlaminated, and they can laminate it. And they can put it up on the wall so that if somebody, say an inspector comes to ask them, or even maybe parents are concerned at what you are using in the classrooms, you can show them the medical safety data sheet. I can almost guarantee you they won't even know how to read it, but but the mere fact that you give them the data sheet, oh, thank God. I don't know what this means, but thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, partners and colleagues, thanks again for giving us this opportunity to share this very useful information. We learn every day. I think this was a good learning once again. We'll make the video available to you in different formats so that you can use it for your own benefit. But once again, if there's any additional information that you may need at any time, we will make we will make ourselves available to provide it to you. We'll organize in the coming days the certificate to prove that this session were contacted. But at the same time, if the people that you interact with when you provide your services need any additional information with regard to technical questions that you may not be able to help, we can refer to the head office and they will provide the necessary assistance to provide all the information.
Or you can just, I'm available on WhatsApp. All you do is you can contact me and whatever questions, give it to me in point form. So, number 1, what's the question? Number 2, what's the second question? Number 3, what's it? So when I reply, I will put there 1, the answer, 2, the answer, 3, the answer, so that it's in format. So you understand what I'm replying to. That's only if I'm not available for a voice call. Otherwise, you can just phone me, ask me what's the technical question, I'll give you the answer, and you can forward the answer on to your client. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for attending. It's been a pleasure. We hope to do some business.
It also be difficult in the start. But
yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay, thanks.